think about what are the things that I really need help with and come to this class where we can answer your questions. I've been teaching and training about the genius for over 10 years, and it's my great pleasure to be with you. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and we love to share information about the genius with you in our weekly training and then throughout the week with our different newsletters. We will be educating you more with tutorials and good information coming up. Today we're going to show you, we have a great blog post to share with you where we have a process for working on the digestion, and then we'll take a volunteer. So if anybody would like to volunteer for today, I'd be happy to work with you. And then you can get some frequencies. We can even send them to your Quanta capsule. So if you want to put your birth date down in the chat area, we can get that to you. Our website is geniusbiofeedback.com. We appreciate your referrals and sharing this information with other people so other people can get their genius from geniusbiofeedback.com. We can support them and give them great training and customer service. Okay, we're going to come right back in just 1 second here. So I'm going to keep talking even though we're going to stop the video feed. So just go ahead and please go ahead and put your questions into the chat area so that we can answer your chat questions. Just need to get one thing set up here. Let's get your chat questions going upon my return. Got a few things that need some tune-ups. So let's get your questions going. Go ahead and put your questions into the chat so that we can answer them, and we will get going in just one moment. We're just getting some things set up here for you, and we will be getting ready to start the class in just one moment. Let's go ahead and get any of your questions that you need to ask about the genius into the chat area, and we will get rolling just as soon as we can. So today we're going to talk all about digestion, digestive wellness, and all issues related such as that. So this is a great time for you to get in your wonderful questions about the genius so that we can answer them for you, and we'll be doing that in just a few moments. So please go ahead and see what other topics would you like to know about the genius, and we can answer them for you. Fantastic. Great questions coming in. Thank you, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And what other topics would you like to know about the genius? That's a great thing because we want to make more quick tutorials for you. Please remember that I recently did a learning intensive, and you can find more about that at our blog. If you're new to our community, or even if you're not new, you really want to check out that learning intensive that we did. Let's see where some of that information is on here. Okay, let's just go ahead and look at February 21st. So you can find this on the blog. We did 3 videos, which are the learning intensive videos. Everybody on here, I highly recommend that you watch the first video. It teaches you all about principles of energy medicine and all about how to talk about the genius with other people. So please, if you haven't seen it yet, if you've never heard of it, watch our learning intensive video 1 with lots of information about energy and frequency that you can use to understand your genius. This will be incredibly helpful and beneficial for you. And it also explains the most basic ways to get started with the genius. And we had lots of comments for people who participated in this training and said it was the first time that they really understood the simplicity of how easy it could be to work with the genius. So definitely check out this series of videos if you have not before. A lot of people saying that the learning intensive gave them the information that they needed to really understand the genius. Okay. So also on the blog, you can always get our information about today's class. So for example, in today's class, or for today's class about digestion, you can find the guide that we have, which is right here. We're gonna get the camera back here. So we have a great little ebook all about working with digestion. So you can download that from the blog, and you just go to geniusbiofeedback.com, learn, and then blog, and it tells you all about how to work with the digestive system in this little handy ebook. So definitely check that out. And please remember to check out our events calendar. So if you go here and you go to our events, you can find out all the things that we have coming up this week. We have a busy, busy week. We're going to be talking all about terahertz tomorrow afternoon, Pacific time. On Wednesday, that's our business members. We're going to be meeting and talking about working with groups. That'll be a great call. And then on Thursday, we're going to be back with our podcast. And in our podcast, the Frequency of 528 podcast, this week, we'll be working more on Genius scans. So if you'd like to see sort of advanced information about Genius scans, join us on the podcast with Karen McDonald. Okay, so busy week, and we're almost into April. Amazing. Spring maybe has sprung where you are. So very, very exciting. And we're going to be talking more about the Genius in just one moment. And we're going to take your questions. So remember to put your most basic or your most complex questions into your chat area so that we can talk with you all about the Genius and answer any of your questions. Remember, not tech-related questions. Tech-related questions should go to support@geniusbiofeedback.com. Support@geniusbiofeedback.com, where we can answer your questions and give you the assistance that you need. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to get a volunteer in just a moment here and talk all about things Genius. Wellness begins in your gut. Health and wellness begins in the gut system. And let's just go ahead and actually get this back for a moment. On the Genius, you can become very, very good at helping people with their digestion. We did a webinar series on this in the practitioner course. So if you go to practitioner level 3, you should find the digestive series. We talked all about digestion, and you can know what a naturopathic doctor knows about digestion by looking at practitioner level 3. So in just a moment, we're going to let's see if we have a volunteer here. But if anybody has any type of illness, chronic illness, anything that they're suffering with, migraines, psoriasis, fibromyalgia, cancer, whatever it might be, you actually can help that person by making their gut more healthy. So all disease has some connection to gut health. All right, there are great questions coming through. So let's go ahead and maybe someone who's never had a Genius scan before. So if we have somebody who's never had a scan before, maybe we can start working with that person. So go ahead, if you've never had a scan before, or you're new to our community, do put your date of birth into the chat area, and let's see if we have any volunteers for today. Welcome everybody, thank you. Okay. All right, so let's just see what we've got here. Oh my goodness, fun stuff. All right, let's see what we've got. Really surprised there's like a troll in the chat today in our meeting. So we've basically made that one go away. Not in our YouTube chat, but actually let's just see if that person is still here. We got fun stuff going on today. All right, don't know who that person was. All right, I'd be interested in learning the future more about how to utilize the Rife CAFL frequencies bonus document. What I would really recommend, if you've not done it already, Missy, is that actually you take our library creation course. It's very inexpensive, like it's ridiculously reasonably priced. And the library creation course shows you all the details and gives you all the resources to do that. So I'd really recommend that you go to geniusbiofeedback.com. I'm going to try to find it in just a moment here. And let's see how we do that together. So, and we need a volunteer, somebody who's never had a scan before. Maybe you're new to our community, you're thinking about getting the Genius. Definitely let us know. And all right, my goodness, coming back after a week off is certainly fun. All right, so let's go ahead here. You can search for anything. So let's go ahead and type in library creation course. And let's just talk a little bit about that. In the library creation course, we taught you all about how to create your own libraries, the actual physical ways that you do that step by step. But then we also talked about really utilizing how to enter rife frequencies into your Genius and show you how to think about it, what resources to look for, the different rifing books that are out there and how to use it. So I really recommend that you take the time to do this course in 3 sessions and really learn about what you can do with the library creation course, all the different, tools, how to do it, how to think about libraries, what different types of libraries, affirmational libraries, libraries that are created with actual frequencies, libraries that are more archetypal, archetype encoding. What does that mean? So hopefully that is helpful. All right, let's see if we have some other questions here. For the digestion library, what are the most important points to look for in recognizing gut issues? That's a good question, Veronica, like enzymes, pancreas, etc. And I definitely recommend that you check out our digestive assessment libraries because we have a lot of other libraries to add to what's already within the Genius, the digestion panel. And you first wants to know about recognizing patterns. We can definitely do that. Did you say terahertz training was this week? Yes, it's tomorrow. It's on the events calendar and you can register for it tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific. We had been off for a couple of weeks. We're back tomorrow. All right. I have someone who has ovarian cancer, but I did not see when I looked to drill down to the ovaries where there were other cancers, but not ovarian. So the best thing that really to do is we have this series that we had to remove that, magical C word. Apparently that was not allowed. So let's just go ahead and look here. Talk about this. We have this series of libraries called the cancer libraries or the C answer libraries, which is the chronic, we had to call it chronic stress. I think you can probably figure out why. I really want to mention this because it's very easy when you don't understand about different aspects of health. And we are going to have new classes coming up about the principles of health, including viruses, jabs, things like that. So we're in the development, should be able to launch them fairly soon. Even for healers, even for licensed healers chase symptoms, they chase diseases. What you really want to think about, Beth, to make yourself a stellar and amazing biofeedback practitioner is you want to think about what caused that ovarian cancer in the first place. And then you want to back out from there and address the root cause. What do you think would have caused an ovarian cancer? Hormonal imbalances, too much estrogen, too little progesterone. So digestive issues, some type of emotional conflict or wound. And so when we're thinking about healing dis-ease, we really want to think, what are the things that coalesce together, the multifactorial things that arrived at the person having a disease? And remember that all disease also is an illusion. It's a divergence from the truth of who we truly are. And if we could get back to truth, which in some ways is about ordered cells that are dividing in a certain order, not dividing in a crazy order or growing in a way that is not appropriate. So we can think about all of these things in terms of employing frequency, because all these frequencies are created and designed, the ones that you listen to restore order. Human beings are self-healing mechanisms. We're of nature. Nature is a self-healing, self-organizing system. If you go out into the forest or into the ocean, they have all these mechanisms that are constantly being employed to restore them to homeostasis. In healing, in a naturopathic philosophy, we talk about obstacles to cure. The only thing that your body is right now at this moment is doing a massive amount of detoxification, massive amount of cleanup, massive amount of balancing your minerals, everything, the whole
amazing dynamic of your body contains an inherent vibration that just it moves you towards wellness. It's unstoppable, really, in many ways. It just, as long as it is unimpeded, it's just whoosh. It's like this movement towards wellness constantly, every part of your body. However, there can be things that human beings do that cause obstacles to this self-healing mechanism. For example, if you drink a whole bottle of alcohol, right, whiskey or something like that, you create this obstacle to cure, right, because your liver has to work extra hard. It still will work. It just has to work extra hard to get rid of all the alcohol and restore the body to normal. And after a while, those stressors can cause injury to the body, and the body will still try to heal that. You get the idea. If you can remove the obstacles to cure, then the body can cure itself very quickly. Also, if you expose the body to beneficial frequencies, then the body can listen to those frequencies. It becomes entrained, it becomes at one with those frequencies. It also goes into a place of cure. So you want to start thinking, as a biofeedback practitioner, what are the wonderful wellness principles that I could teach to people? And we're going to be teaching you those. And if you combine that with your skillfulness about applying frequencies, you're going to be healing people like crazy. People are going to think you walk on water, because it's just those two things together, and instantly the body will fall into its natural state of being, which is that self-healing mechanism, that self-organizing mechanism. Just when you walk into the forest, you look around you, you're just surrounded by perfection. It's all that self-healing mechanism. Okay, sound is cutting out on my end. Anybody else? So let's see what's happening. My sound is 5.5, not here. Okay, so sound is good. Thank goodness. I'm grateful that sound is okay. All right, so again, just going back to ovarian cancer, it's like, what broke down that caused the ovaries to be injured? That was the path of least resistance for that person. It's probably toxicity, hormonal imbalance. And so we built them into these different frequencies about cancer. So digestion, liver, immune system, optimal nutrition, all of these things were built into these cancer panels. So you may want to check these out, Beth, or you may even have these. You may want to check them out. And we also did this in a class called Healing Chronic Cases, which is practitioner level 2. So I really want to point this out, because it's going to make you feel so much more better about understanding future clients. You're really going to feel much more competent to be able to utilize these particular principles that we teach in the class about why people get cancer in the first place. So if you can understand what the cancer is, then you can employ more skillful frequencies in order to address it, instead of just, I'm going to push a button that says ovarian cancer. So that's where I would go with that. That's how I approach my cases. Diane says, I did a major bacteria purge last week with the Genius, and the next week I had diarrhea all day. So really, the Genius does not cause this. So there is in no way that subtle frequencies cause this to happen. This is more likely something that your body was experiencing in order to get back into balance. Now, it's really hard to say if the coherent frequencies triggered that, if it was something else. How do you know it wasn't just the bacteria running its course? What the body does is, in a non-specific immune response, is it says if there's something in there that it recognizes as harmful, it's trying to get it out of your system. So it instantly pulls more water into the intestines, and you end up with diarrhea. The body is recognizing this could be a threat, and so it's pushing those out. Whether it's directly related to the frequencies that you've run, really hard to say. Maybe the frequencies, emboldened or uplifted those mechanisms which exist in the first place to clear, but I wouldn't necessarily associate these two together. The Genius is very subtle frequencies that help to remind your body how to heal itself, that trigger the body's ability to perform the self-organizing, the self-healing. It takes you into a state of coherence. And they talk about coherence in the heart map program. And so it helps you to remind the body to be organized, to be aligned with the energies of nature. Okay, so hopefully the sound has been restored. So Maureen, will go with you. And again, please, if you have people who you've referred to the Genius, have them come to the Monday training. Monday training is open to all, and we would really love to give them a scan during this time. So bring somebody in and just say, hey, I brought them in because hopefully you're going to do some principle today, and maybe they could be involved in having a scan. So do bring your clients to class where we can help them. And let's go ahead and talk with Maureen in just a moment here. Bring her up as our volunteer. So Maureen, hopefully you're here and you can. So please put more questions into the chat area. So please put more of your questions into the chat. We would love to answer your questions about any features of the Genius, any topics that you have. And Maureen, you'll see yourself promoted as a panelist in just a moment. And that is Maureen C. Maureen C. So the other Maureen, we're not necessarily talking to you, so you can sit back and relax. Wonderful, though, that I appreciate that you would have volunteered. So let's go ahead and, okay, if we detox without preparing the emunctories, maybe we can be sick, Marie-Helene says. And that's a really good, definitely noted and appreciated. If you go into a big detox, let's say today you just decide to water fast, you're probably not going to feel very good. So what she's saying is if you prepare the body and you open the emunctories, would be considered like the bowel, the skin, the liver, the large intestine with the bowel. So you want to make sure you open up the emunctories first. So that's great. Okay, fantastic. So let's go ahead and see what happened here. Now we don't have our participant anymore. Maureen, not sure if you still want to scan, but we're trying to get you up here to, maybe you did not, maybe you declined that, I don't know. Hopefully you will join us in just a moment and we can go into our scan. If not, we'll just have to wing it and see what we can do. Let's see. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. And not sure what's happening with Maureen. Maybe she changed her mind. So Veronica will go with you. And let's see what we've got here. All right, so now we don't have, now Veronica has disappeared as well. It's pretty funny. All right, so Maureen, let's go ahead and we'll try to unmute you here. There you go. Okay, Maureen, can you hear me? All right, so she must have decided that there she goes. Okay. So Maureen, can you hear me? Okay, she's gone silent. Gotta love this. All right. Anyway, what I'll just do is I'll just do if nobody else wants to volunteer, we'll just do a random person here from the Genius, and probably just one of my relatives that would be okay with me demonstrating a scan, and we'll just go with that because we don't have any volunteers. So if anybody wants to volunteer, it's sort of your last chance to do so. All right. So yeah, I'm trying to get it to work on my laptop. You can just, okay, Maureen, are you there? Maureen, are you there? This might be my fault. Let's see if this is my fault. Nope, not my fault. Okay. All right, well, Maureen, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be working today. So if you don't mind, we're just gonna go ahead and go with this method. And all right, so let's just go ahead and demonstrate. So do bring friends to class, you guys. We really do need people to volunteer so that I can demonstrate what the Genius has to offer. So do bring your friends to class, or maybe volunteer if you've never volunteered before. And we're just going to do a sample scan then. It's always good to have people on here so that they can say, hey, that really worked for me, or yeah, that really matches my symptoms. But for right now, let's go ahead and let's look at our system overview. So in our system overview, we have three different parts. We have the body, we have the mind, and we have the biofield. And today we're talking about a significant part of the body, which is called the digestion. So let's look at the digestion panel. The digestion panel has enzymes, gallbladder, stomach, mouth, large intestine, liver, flora, small intestine, esophagus, and pancreas. So also, all of these things are defined in my mastery guide. You can go to geniusbiofeedback.com. You can also get it on Amazon. If you look for me as an author on Amazon, you could get it that way. You're welcome to get it in any way that works for you. And you can get the Kindle version, you can get an actual physical version. So geniusbiofeedback.com or Amazon. Get the mastery guide because we have basically defined everything that's in your genius on the mastery guide. All right. So when you look at this, we always look at the reds and the blues. The reds and the blues define what's going on with the person at any given time. And so this tells us that the enzymes and the pancreas and esophagus are something of issue. And also when we see this, we can see that, let's see if we get a spotlight here, that these two things match. Enzymes matches up with pancreas because the pancreas is an organ that secretes enzymes. So when you consume food, it goes down the esophagus. Basically, you have one long tube from one end to the other end, and the whole purpose of the tube is to process food and extract energy from it, something we also call chi ultimately, but we want to break down that food to its smallest component, extract what we can, eliminate the rest. That's pretty much the digestive system in a nutshell. But however, we do take in a lot of things by mouth that can be disruptive to our system. They might be inflammatory or they might destroy the gut microbiome. They might have parasites or pathogens within there. So we have to have strong stomach acid. There are all types of things that can happen in the digestive process. And if we don't break down and eliminate the food, the things that we don't need, then these foods could become toxic, or the residue of the food could become toxic in something the old naturopathic doctors would call auto-intoxication. So all that being said, we see here that enzymes are an issue. Now, enzymes, as I said, are produced by the pancreas. So when you swallow the food, it goes down your esophagus, goes into the stomach. In the stomach, it gets activated by something called hydrochloric acid, will convert something called pepsinogen into something called pepsin. And that helps to break down your proteins. You also produce hydrochloric acid to protect you from any pathogens. So if you have good, strong hydrochloric acid in your tum-tum and you get a parasite or you get bacteria that comes in through the food or some type of virus or fungus, then your hydrochloric acid could potentially just destroy that in seconds. But a lot of people have weak hydrochloric acid from being stressed out, or certain foods, even coffee or caffeinated beverages, soda pop, things like that can actually lower the stomach acid. And so a lot of people, or they never get into the mode of rest and digest because they're stressed out. So for whatever reason, they may not produce enough hydrochloric acid. If they don't produce enough hydrochloric acid, that means parasites, viruses, bacteria can pass through and get into the system. But once the food is passed through, the stomach goes into the small intestine, and that will send a trigger signal, a hormone signal to the pancreas so that the pancreas secretes enzymes. And your enzymes are going to break down your fat into smaller fats, going to break down your protein that's been somewhat broken down in the stomach into amino acids, and it's going to break down your fat. Lipase is going to break, let's say we did fat, carbohydrates, going to break down your carbohydrates into smaller or simple sugars. So the pancreas should be able to secrete a whole bunch of enzymes. But because we eat cooked food and because we process food, we actually lose some of our ability to powerfully produce enzymes. By the time we're about 40, mid 40s to 50, we've lost a lot of that capacity. That's why some people take supplemental enzymes. So for that reason, we may not be producing enough enzymes to really completely digest our food. And so that's one of the reasons we might get a red or a blue marker for enzymes on the genius. And so it also says pancreas. So these two things go together. Now, when we see esophagus, that's not completely clear. The most likely candidate is that there might be some mild form of GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease. And so GERD can actually happen in a low acid environment. So, like I said, so many people who are in fight or flight, they're stressed out all the time. If they don't move into the rest or digest mode, also known as parasympathetic activity, they don't produce good or high quality hydrochloric acid. And so as a result, the whatever food they're eating, especially if it's high in protein, may sort of get stuck in the stomach for a period of time where it can do something called putrefy. Sounds lovely. And so the putrefaction actually causes acids, and this acid rises up from the stomach, and it can actually affect the tissue of the esophagus, and so it can cause it to the tissue that is ready for acid in the stomach is not the same in the esophagus, and so it can irritate that esophagus and cause a feeling of heartburn or GERD. And so that might be why the esophagus is coming up. Now, many people may not even know they have this issue going on. And so this is good just to see it, to run some frequencies for it, and give them some wellness pointers so that they can start to improve their ability to digest these proteins, and hopefully the esophagus is no longer affected. Now, we do also see the gallbladder coming up here. And so the gallbladder is, if you eat sort of a standard Western diet, those fats and cholesterol, the cholesterol in the food. So cholesterol is only from any food that comes from animals, whether it be eggs, chicken, fish, beef. Those types of foods have cholesterol, and it's mostly cholesterol that is responsible for causing gallstones. So the gallbladder stores and concentrates bile, but because of the foods that we eat, it may end up storing this solidified bile, which builds up with cholesterol and causes these gallstones. So that could be what's going on. So we would want to take the enzymes and take the gallbladder and take the pancreas and take the esophagus and place them inside the main whole tray. We're going to do some more testing. So let's proceed on to our custom libraries and look at a deeper dive into the principles of digestion through these frequencies. So let's go ahead and test those. All right, we're just reading the questions here. All right, what is the role of proteolytic enzymes in all chronic conditions? That's a pretty big question. Let's always keep our questions as much as we can to the things about the genius so that we can really answer them. Hi, on all libraries since these updates, when you mention libraries top and 50 doesn't show, it shows master branch. I've gotten otherwise. Angela, I'm a little bit concerned about what version you're on. Let's go ahead and check that together. So let's go ahead and look. So the way that you find the top 50 and the bottom 50 is actually to go to general overview. So you have to go to general overview to find this function. Let's go ahead now to general overview and see if we see it. So it won't let us do that until we test it. So let's go ahead and test and see what the top 50 and lower 50 items are. So now it shows here. So let's go ahead and open up the tray. And it does in fact show the add 50 and add bottom 50. Angela, if you're not finding this on your version, then please send a message, support@geniusbiofeedback.com. Otherwise, I don't see any problem with this particular function. Okay, let's go back to custom libraries. And now the new search function means you have to drop down from this little chevron here. So we drop down and now we see that it is focused on just libraries. So we're going to search through the libraries themselves. And we're going to put in the word digestion. And so we have a series called Digestive Assessment. So let's go ahead and we had to call it digestive disturbance because a stress disturbance is always what we describe in biofeedback. So it says digestive disturbance, digestive organs. So let's look at this one. So this gives us a much more complete view. This is the digestive assessment located on geniusbiofeedback.com. Many people get this with the initial package if you had the starter and up, I believe it was included. So look for it in your libraries. The appendix, the duodenum, the hepatopancreatic duct. So we see more items here. So the appendix, if you still have one, and hopefully people do because it is part of your immune system, can get infected. So if there's constipation, actually can get infected. The duodenum is part of the small intestine. The hepatopancreatic duct is where the hepatic duct and the pancreatic duct meet. And that's where a lot of enzymes flow through. It's a lot of bile that flows through. We may not know exactly what the issue is, but the cool thing is when you can sort of micro tune into these different organs and pieces through an anatomy panel within the Genius, then you can kind of tune them up. You can kind of tonify whatever's going on with them. And then it says the hepatic flexure. And we go down to the bottom here, the gallbladder again, the lower esophageal sphincter. So that kind of tells us that the esophagus, the reflux, may be due to something going on with the ability of the lower esophageal sphincter to close and open properly. The large intestine, there's the pancreas again, the stomach, so stomach acid. The ileum is part of the small intestine. I suspect leaky gut is going on here because I see so many things going on with the intestines. Then we look at the general assessment, reflux. Wow, isn't that amazing? That we saw the esophagus in the digestion panel. We saw the lower esophageal sphincter in the previous panel, and now we see reflux. And this is so funny because if you have low stomach acid for any period of time, it can allow the terrain within the stomach to foster the growth of Helicobacter pylori. So that is really interesting. Ileocecal valve imbalance. So somebody who's stressed out, somebody who's in fight or flight a lot of the time, you may get ileocecal valve imbalance. I happen to know that this client is dealing with heart issues, and even heart issues, it's totally going to be improved by doing a digestive tune-up. All disease begins in the gut, and anything that person is experiencing, like just balancing the gut is going to help to balance their nervous system. There's so many things that are connected to the gut. In GMO exposure, interesting. Intrahepatic stone. So this is stones that can form and back up from the gallbladder into the bile duct area. And then let's go down. Okay, dysbiosis. So that is an imbalance. You know, your gut microbiome, that is a whole topic and lecture in and of itself. The gut microbiome is amazing. We have more little tiny beneficial bacteria in our body than we actually have physical cells in our body. Do we exist to basically feed the gut microbiome? Because there is so much activity of gut bacteria. They're constantly breaking things down, waste products. They're also producing beneficial substances, different types of substances that can really benefit our body if they're working well. And so feeding them different fermented foods or really fruits and vegetables are one of the most important things to cause your gut microbiome to thrive. And unfortunately, antibiotics cause the gut microbiome to be destroyed. Alcohol causes the gut microbiome to be destroyed. And any type of, toxins, drugs, things like that are going to probably adversely affect the gut microbiome. So we always want to be thinking about it because it's going to help us to be supporting our nervous system, our neurotransmitters. It's going to be helping to support proper production of hormones. There's so many things that we need from the gut microbiome, including related to our immune system. So we want to definitely give it as much support as possible. Hemorrhoids. So that's interesting. That's something you want to be careful in exploring with your client if they have hemorrhoids, but that's going to come from lack of good fiber, fruits and vegetables, and straining, the whole squatty potty. If somebody gets a squatty potty, they're going to be less likely to have hemorrhoids because they're going to be in a position on the toilet to better release from the large intestine. But so hemorrhoids is dietary. So more fruits and vegetables in more fiber into the system, but also hemorrhoids can be aggravated by coffee and anything that affects the liver, and that will lead to affecting the venous system, and it's actually your veins, the health of your veins, which is also, related to the development of hemorrhoids. So David says, is this a custom library or part of the Genius Insight? So no, it's an add-on. Go to geniusbiofeedback.com and look for digestive assessment if you want these types of panels. If you don't, then you can just keep with the basic Genius digestion panel. Which library is it? We'll go to the website and find the library for everybody so that we can see what it is. Yeah, it's really helpful. It's really helpful in understanding what's going on with the digestive system. So yeah, this is sort of one of the core libraries. Like if you're just going to have a few, you'd want to definitely have this one in your rotation. So we're going to try to find that one in just a moment here. And also we can see that bile being sluggish, right? Bile sluggish. So that's interesting that that's coming up as well, right? Because we saw gallstones. So the bile sluggish and gallstones, those things are related. All right, so I can see why it's confusing. Okay, let me link this. It is specifically in something called the Digestive Health Pack. So it is in the Digestive Health Pack. So let's go ahead and link that. Yes, it's the Digestive Health Pack. And let's go ahead and show that one as well. All of these libraries are located in the Digestive Health Pack. So it's in this particular library here. Let's make it a little bit easier to view here. So it gives you the full description of what we're talking about here. There we go. Digestive organs, large intestine. Okay, there's the assessment. Now we're going to look at solutions. It's got a food plan, digestive disturbance assessment, and diverticulitis assessment. So those are all in this library. So definitely a comprehensive one for the digestive system. So it's called the Digestive Health Pack. We do have a lot of libraries related to digestion because it's such a significant contributor to helping people to heal. So let's look at the solutions. The solution says zeolite. So zeolite is going to bind up any toxins that the person is dealing with. Apple cider vinegar, when you take, now we really recommend like the Bragg's or the one that's kind of cloudy. Any apple cider vinegar that you take, and you could add a little bit of honey and drink that 15 minutes before a meal. That is going to prime the pump so that you can better produce stomach acid. So isn't it interesting that the whole thing about stomach acid came up, and here we go, apple cider vinegar, the solution for the issue with the stomach acid comes up. It's so cool when you see these things, when you get good at figuring this out on your Genius, all of these things start to make sense. Now, coral calcium is specifically for pH issues. So when the person is too acidic, you'll see coral calcium come up. Black walnut is basically, it's specifically for parasites, but it could be for bacteria, it could be for viruses, it could be really just to clean up the gut. So let's pull some of these down. We've got zeolite, apple cider vinegar, lipase, so that's going to break down the fats, and that could be because the gallbladder is sort of blocked up a little bit, and so it's not actually releasing the healthy flow of bile. Remember, there are things called cholagogues, which is what dandelion root is and what burdock root is, and they help the bile to flow more smoothly. But the best thing to do is to get on a primarily plant-based diet. And then bifidus. So bifidus is very important for reducing inflammation in the body. Oil of oregano. Wow. So this gut has a lot probably of different bacteria or fungus or parasites, and that's why candida is specifically helped with oil of oregano. And then gentian bitters. And okay, ginger, wormwood. Wow, this person really needs to address some parasite issues, I think. cinnamon for blood sugar, and beet powder. Okay. Very, very interesting. Once you get a lot of these lined up, it's fun to go to Progressive Insights and just say, what does Progressive Insights think is the most important issue here? So Progressive Insights thinks the most important issue is the large intestine and the pancreas. Isn't that fascinating? Beet powder, what beet powder will help with liver detoxification, also helps with methylation. It'll help with the bowel. Apple cider vinegar, really important to prime that pump. It'll also help to clear toxins from the system. Lipase to break down that fat, the reflux. Isn't that interesting? So you could just stop here and just do sort of a 1-minute tune-up on the gut itself. Okay. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Okay, so the practitioner course is a great one that teaches all of these principles. Where is that one? Yeah, there we go, because level 4, I made a mistake. Level 4, heal digestion and bloat, level 4 of the practitioner program. And so you're going to want to get into all of the, did you know that the pancreas is one of the first organs to show chronic stress due to enzyme depletion? How about reflux, the health of your nervous system, H. pylori, all of those things, liver health, all of those things are discussed in this practitioner program. And it's available for just $99 a month. If anybody's interested, it will really help you with your cases. Okay, so that went to just 21% rectification. Let's see if we could do another minute here. All right. Very, very good. Very good. Good questions, good comments. Thank you very much. Excellent. And the role of proteolytic enzymes in all chronic conditions is because it's not all chronic conditions. I don't know who said that. So proteolytic enzymes break down protein. A lot of where we've talked about it initially was talked about for pancreatic cancer itself. And that was one of the doctors that wrote extensively about it. Trying to remember that doctor that was one of the doctors that, passed away in that whole kind of thing of different doctors that seemed to be disappearing. He wrote a lot about pancreatic cancer and enzymes. And then we kind of extrapolated it and, it makes sense. What pancreatic enzymes do is they break down protein. What is a tumor? A tumor is protein. And so the idea is that the tumor is sort of a buildup of waste products in a lot of ways. And so that if we had enough proteolytic enzymes, we could start to break that down. Probably proteolytic enzymes break down a lot of other things that are sort of waste within the body that we're not aware of. So that was the idea with proteolytic enzymes. In general, it seems to reduce inflammation. I know it probably frees up the immune system as well by reducing some of these whatever aberrant, tumors or metabolic waste, or just sort of like a trash cleanup within the body. And I know when I've taken any type of a WOB enzyme or proteolytic enzyme, I've definitely felt sort of a lift in my energy. And it may be because we're sort of relieving the body of that burden that's constantly trying to eliminate. But unless you've eaten raw food all of your life, the pancreas kind of gets a sort of a burnout. All right, let's add some things in here. Let's see what else that we have that we could contribute here. And just looking at some of the other, this is great that finally this is restored where we can just back up and search again. This was really nice that the developer has done that. That's really awesome. So let's just go ahead and see if there's anything else that would be helpful here. I think, it'd be better to go to some of the other things that like the root cause and see if it matches up with anything that we've discovered. So we want to use root cause. What is the root cause of the issue? Cat allergies, huh? Neurotransmitter imbalance, excess cholesterol due to the diet. And so that kind of talks of, the gallstones, the bile flow, fat digestion. Okay. Cardiovascular root cause. Remember I said there were heart issues here. Frontal sinus infection contributing to the root cause. That's something you probably never would have been able to figure out. And that person might not even know they have a sinus infection. It might be sort of subclinical. So thyroid infection, thyroid function, endocrine system, lymphatic stagnation due to lack of stretching, auditory tube inflammation. The nice thing is with the Genius, you can just add all of these things in and then retest them in Progressive Insight. Blood sugar, thyroid function, wow, lots of stuff going on here. My goodness. This is not uncommon for a lot of people you deal with, have a lot of things going on. My goodness, they really do need help. There's that frontal sinus infection again. Let's go ahead and look at this and see now what is the highest thing that comes up here. Remember, it was large intestine and pancreas. Now it says kidney stones. Now I know that this client has had issues with their kidneys, so that's interesting, and has had kidney stones in the past. And you can have kidney stones and not know about it. You can have gallstones and not know about it. They're quiescent. They're not at issue at the moment, but the Genius lets you know in advance, hey, these things are being formed. Let's maximize the kidney function. Let's maximize our liver function. So enzymes, lower esophageal sphincter, again, that reflux issue coming up at the very, very highest level. So let's go ahead. So now what I will do is I'll balance for like a minute or 2 minutes, and then actually I'll add in emotional things. So I'll add in maybe affirmations. You could also add in the flower essences. Okay, thank you, Sophie. Yes, I was talking about Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, very, very astute. That was exactly what I was referring to. And I think he was preceded by Dr. Kelly, who wrote a lot about enzymes and the health of having to do with enzymes in the early part of the 20th century. So yeah, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez wrote a lot, and he really helped people with pancreatic cancer by giving them massive amount of pancreatic enzymes. But I think we've seen the pancreatic enzymes can be applied to a lot of other health conditions and can be really beneficial because of that. The pancreatic tendency to kind of burn out from the production of producing the ability to produce enzymes. Okay, let's see where this ends up in terms of percentage. So 26% rectification. Now let's see if we can add in some, so this could be a kind of something that you could do yourself. Now, you know, we sort of started out with digestion, we added on layers, we added on root cause. Now let's add on some type of affirmation. So we recently in the Library Discount Club, we did affirmations for rejuvenation and longevity. So let's select that one. It's also available on the website. My insulins, so all the affirmations about health are now, you can sort of reverse or back into what might be the issue. And we see a lot of things coming up around insulin sensitivity. My insulin sensitivity now improves. My sleep cycle is optimized. All gallstones are easily dissolved. The natural rhythm of my pineal gland is now restored. I'm now able to properly methylate completely for healthy detoxification. So let's take all of those and put them in the tray. Let's look down at the lower one here. And now the ability to effectively produce cortisol is restored. My brain is able to produce the perfect amount of dopamine. Every cell of my body is healthy and well. My pancreas is now optimized to produce the most efficient amount of glucagon. So a lot of blood sugar stuff there. My hormones, the effective bovine growth hormone is now detoxified. So that would come from dairy products. The mitochondrial pathways in my body are all functioning well. Or it could be beef, probably beef too. All right, so let's go ahead and add these blues in. And I won't have time to do this and then go back. So I would do this and maybe find the top one. And then I would go back all the way to Bach flower essences. And let's add in the Bach flower essences. And the one that comes up the highest, that's going to also tell part of the story. So let's look at the affirmation that comes up as the highest. You need to do that. And let's look at the flower essence that comes up at the highest. So let's go ahead and look at those. All right, perfect. So now the highest thing that comes up is my liver makes bile in the perfect consistency. So a lot of things, the bile might be sort of that key foundational thing that if this person changes it, everything else will begin to change. My hormones are now being produced at my as needed, and then again that reflux, and then elm. I believe elm is overwhelmed by responsibility, so they may feel overwhelmed by responsibility, and that feeling of being overwhelmed may be the causative emotional factor for all of these other things. That's like the thread, that's like the piece that kind of started everything, right? Because you were overwhelmed, and then you ate these other foods that weren't healthy for you, and you got angry at your spouse because you were overwhelmed, and so that caused your blood pressure to go up, and so on and so forth. So if we could resolve this particular issue by running the frequency, then a lot of the other things might start to resolve themselves. So that's why we incorporate the emotional aspect along with the physical things that are going on. All right, so let's see if there are anything else. Digestion is where all the health is. Wouldn't it be related to the frequency 528 and miracles and DNA repair? Digestion health, you will be healthy. Well, that was actually the name of the class today, but that's very incisive, Rachel. I appreciate it. I'm not sure what you mean by wouldn't it be related to 528. You could take any aspect of health and you can run 528 in the quick zap with it, and it'll definitely get better. So you may be on to something there. Just how to get back to the natural production of HCl or build HCl for older adults besides a good vegetarian diet or a good homeopathic, herbal, Ayurvedic for that. Oh, that's actually a really good question. Bitters, gentian bitters, or look for Swedish bitters, and you want to start taking those sort of maybe half an hour before a meal. It's that one of the reasons we lose the good production of hydrochloric acid is we don't have enough bitter things that we consume in the Western diet. And most of those indigenous cultures had some type of bitter herb that they employed, and we just eliminated all of that. The only bitter that we have is coffee, and then we put sugar and cream in the coffee in order to bury the bitter taste. All right, so we had a good response here. Let's do one more rescan and take a look here. And we see that what comes up at the very top, bovine hormones. So it's so useful to know what comes up at the very top, and you want to really observe that and think about it, because it's giving you a hint about the case. Like, this person would really do well to remove anything that, you know, is not organic and might have this bovine growth hormone. If you read about bovine growth hormone, it's scary. There's a lot of implications about cancer and other things, and so many things that are used you know, in our food supply that really never should have been allowed, and very toxic for human beings. And unfortunately, it's just like, you know, let the buyer beware. We're just left to our own devices to be smart and clever enough to avoid these very toxic foods. We no longer can rely on FTC or FDA. Just forget it. Rely on your own good reading and education to find the most clean and healthy foods for your body. Bile sluggish, ileum, ginger, reflux. My brain is able to produce the perfect amount of dopamine. So that's interesting. You want to sort of write all those top items down, just sort of think about them. It could lead to either wellness practices that you're recommending for your client, because anybody can be a wellness educator. And also just really thinking about the case. How are all of these things related? What is the most important thing? And that really, really helps you in resolving the case and helping the person in a more meaningful way. Okay, Justine, the only thing that people need to know in there is to eat a plant-based diet and to know why that's important. Don't make it complicated, them having to learn the 5 elements in a 5-element diet. The most important thing that they need to learn is about plant-based nutrition. I've covered this in a class called High Vibe Nutrition, why it's important and why it can benefit you. I highly recommend this class. We've also made this a really low price point for this class. That is the most important thing. If you get people on a plant-based diet, you're going to see 80 to 90% of their issues clear, and it has to be a plant-based diet, which is low oil. And we'll just learn about some of the things that you can learn in minimal amounts of nuts and seeds and avocado and so forth. And then you'll see a massive amount of diseases, multiple sclerosis, cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, all clear up in a very short amount of time. This is based on the work of Dr. John McDougall. You can look up Dr. John McDougall online, take the course High Vibe, where I highlight a lot of that information, distill it down, make it super easy. All right, well, this has been a class all about the genius and about the principles of digestion. If you need to get in touch with us, please do so at support@geniusbiofeedback.com. Please check out our events calendar so you can learn all about our events this week. Every class this week is free except our business membership. Business members get that class included, talk all about group programs, how to run a group program. But you can come to our terahertz class or podcast class where we're going to talk more about the genius on Thursday podcast. I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye for now.